by tongue. But for that purpose, to make grinding easier, a set of gland that is important, we are calling these glands as salivary glands. Say here there is set of salivary glands that is from this side here. So salivary glands are there. Now we are discussing at a time. Say I don't want to separate out first digestive system and then. No, we want to discuss each and every point at a time only. And so we are just discussing out here what is the nature of salivary gland first and what are the enzymes secreted by this gland. Salivary glands are classified into this way. First, it's sublingual gland. You are aware of the word linguistic, language. It is related with tongue. So sublingual gland, that means sub below the tongue. So the gland which is present below tongue, we are calling this as sublingual gland. So first type we discuss sublingual gland. Second, submandibular gland. This is mandible. So it is present over here. We are calling it submandibular gland. Over the below the lower jaw, these glands are present. And third, that is parotid glands. These parotid glands are present in front of ear. So this is called as parotid. So this way, salivary glands are present from different part, sublingual, that is under tongue, submandibular, that is here below mandible part or below lower jaw, and parotid gland in front of ear. Now these glands are secreting out that we are calling as saliva. First thing, why the function, the positions are different. Why not at one place? The reason is that from different positions, saliva can be secreted and that can be mixed very easily. Now these glands are again classified, or this is divided into two parts. One is called as serous gland and other is called as mucus gland. So serous gland and mucus gland is the part of the salivary gland. Out of that, serous gland is secreting out a substance that is called as enzyme actually, that is called as ptyalin, but spelling starts with P. So keep in mind, don't pronounce ptyalin, but while remembering you can remember this way, ptyalin. Okay. The second name of this ptyalin is called as amylase. But pancreas is another gland that is also secreting out amylase, and therefore we are calling this amylase as salivary amylase. So either you can call this enzyme as salivary amylase or you can call this enzyme as ptyalin, ptyalin, no. Then mucus gland secretes out a mucus secretion. Mucus is something slippery. Most simple thing you can keep in mind this way, that whenever there is infection or cold is there, then whatever coming out from nose, that's something thicky substance that we can consider as mucus. No doubt salivary gland is not producing that kind of slippery, but some sort of slippery substance is produced over here that makes food easily swallowable. This serous gland secretes out ptyalin, or say salivary amylase, that is useful for beginning process or digestion process of carbohydrates. Now you are aware of the word carbohydrate digestion, that carbohydrates we are calling as polysaccharides, and then they are converted into monosaccharides like glucose. This is digestion. You can check out if you are consuming out some carbohydrate product, say for example wheat, or say whatever the chapati, roti made from wheat. Just chew it for longer time. Don't immediately swallow. After some time, you'll find it tastes like sweet taste. This is because ptyalin is present in saliva, and that is carrying out the process of this carbohydrate digestion. Certain carbohydrates are digested by this tylet. The mucus secretion makes food to unite or make some lump of food very easily and mix out the food properly, crush food properly. So this is about the part of digestion, whatever is carrying out in buccal chamber. This is called as buccal chamber, then this is pharynx. Now here two tubes are there. Now this diagram is just collective of all. I am drawing here separate diagram here. We can observe. This is again I am saying this is schematic diagram. This is to make idea clear. So you can imagine this way. There are two tubes. One tube is called as oesophagus. Spelling here written. Don't pronounce as oesophagus. Pronounce this as oesophagus. So one tube, let us mark out, this is oesophagus. Another tube, respiratory system, that is called as trachea. So this is carrying out gas. Trachea is there to carrying out gas. This will go to lungs, whereas this will go to here stomach. Now thing is that two tubes are there, they are opening out here, whereas there is some muscular disc-like object. This is called as epiglottis. Try to remember name, diaphragm, or simply we are having name that is called as epiglottis. Now this epiglottis is having function like this. It can be either here or here. So at a time one tube is open and one is closed. This is something like if you are having experience of driving the car. Our right leg is used for accelerator as well as brake, whereas left leg we are using for clutch plate. So if you have to hold this clutch, one leg is secured for that, but right leg we can use for either pressing out brake or accelerator. So when you have to press out brake, you have to remove leg, we have to release out accelerator, and only we are pressing out brake. At a time, so suppose you are using both leg, one for accelerator and one for brake, then in mistake or say in hurry, we can carry out this way that accelerator as well as brake is crushed. This is not used. So we have to either use brake or use accelerator. So one leg is used. So same thing is here. This epiglottis will be there either on trachea or on oesophagus. Now whenever we are carrying out respiration, obviously the action is there that trachea is open and oesophagus is closed. When we have to swallow food, that means we have to take inside the food, then at that time this epiglottis will move over trachea and food will enter in oesophagus. Minor mistake can lead that food particles to enter in trachea. But the epithelial cells are here. Epithelial means lining cells. So these lining cells which are present over here of trachea, they are called as ciliary epithelium. So it is having hair-like projections. And this hair-like projection, they are just pushing the object up. So suppose at all any food particle by mistake enters over here, then that is pushed up by this cilia. The ciliary motion is there, what we are calling as cuff. So this way, any wrong entry is prohibited by this way. Then the food enters in oesophagus. Now oesophagus is long tube that runs through entire thoracic cage. So from thoracic cage to stomach, this tube will run, but it is having smaller size. It is muscular but smaller size. Food particles, whatever we are crushing out, after that we are getting size is somewhat greater. And so some sort of muscular action is there. So this way I can show this is the size of food particle. And this is oesophagus. So this way oesophagus expands. some swelling is there on esophagus, pressure is applied from this direction, and this food, now food lumps start moving in downward direction till stomach. This motion of food in esophagus, we are calling this as peristalsis. Remember the word peristalsis. This word is very common if you are learning about this body anatomy. Then again and again we have to use the word, this is called as peristalsis. This means downward, this type of motion under muscular impression of the tube. Bigger substances are passed out. So this is called as peristalsis. So by this motion of peristalsis, esophagus is passing out the food material in stomach. So this way, food transported from mouth to stomach. Now in that, certain tests are automatically carried out. Say, in what way that object is looking like. Whenever we are consuming food, especially if you are consuming non-veg, then at that time the bony portion we have to remove. So only observing or by touching we can check out. That means food is not 100% inserted. In case of veg food also we are using that certain legumes or fibers we are keeping out. So this way we are having clear-cut idea that our vision as well as knowledge of touch, that is playing important role. Then second, that is the sense of smell, is to detect whether food is of good quality, it is fresh or not fresh. That can be detected by this smell, sense of smell. Now test. Say there are a few unlucky people, as we have discussed, they don't have sense of smell. Then test is another organ, that tongue, that will test out the substance, and we are having idea that whether food is in nice condition, edible condition or not. Say if you are consuming out potatoes during summer season, whatever, if we are keeping out for a long period, then it will have some unwanted odor and unwanted taste also. This is because of certain bacterial action carried out on that potato. So we can able to smell out as well as taste out whatever is going on. The third, that is preventing out food to enter inside the body, because it is not recommended that contaminated food should enter in body or any unwanted substance that should enter in body. If at all this type of unwanted substances are entered in body, then one mechanism is there. This is called as a reverse of peristalsis. That's why from stomach this material is sent again towards mouth. Simply in normal language we are calling as vomiting. Scientific language here we are using different word, but here simply we can say this is vomiting. So if at all any problem is there, many people are having this type of problem after consuming food. We are having some sort of nauseatic action, and at that time one should not prevent out. Suppose this vomiting feeling is there, that means something wrong or unwanted thing, undesired thing is entering in body. So if normal cases and this type of action is there, then one should not prevent out from vomiting. Now food material is now entered in stomach, where the esophagus and stomach, there is one wall that is called as sphincter wall, which is what is the meaning of wall? Wall means a substance or device which will allow flow in one direction and not in other direction easily. So here food is entering out but not permitted to go out under normal circumstances. In case of reverse peristalsis this is possible, but under normal circumstances it is not possible. esophagus is having average length of 25 centimeters. And in case of peristalsis, we have longitudinal and circular motion of the muscles. This rhythmic motion, that longitudinal is this way, whereas circular this way. So this motion we are calling as peristalsis. Now, after passing out, it enters in stomach. As we have discussed, this is guarded by wall. This is called as sphincter. Now, here it enters in stomach. This is having J shape. So here I am showing detailed diagram. So this looks like J shape. So this is called as J shape stomach. Now this stomach is divided into further three parts. The first part or upper part, this is called as cardiac, which is in vicinity of heart. The second part, that is called as fundus, F-U-N-D-U-S, and third part, that is called as pyloric stomach. Now the sphincter present here is called as cardiac sphincter, whereas sphincter present over here, this is called as pyloric sphincter. What is the role of stomach? Whatever we are consuming, that food that enters in stomach, here it is mixed with different enzymes.